Sarah Grayson dropped to her knees on the warped boards of the abandoned platform and let out a cry that scraped the back of her throat raw. The wagon was already nothing but dust on the horizon. The man who'd promised to marry her, the father of the child kicking hard inside her, had driven off without so much as a backward glance. If this story moves you, smash that subscribe button. Stay with me clear to the end and tell me in the comments what city you're listening from, so I can see how far my story has traveled. Sarah Grayson did not scream when the wagon finally pulled away. She had spent the scream already. It had come out of her 10 minutes back, when she'd still believed a scream could change a man's mind. Gabe? Her own voice hoarse now, coming off the empty track. Gabe Walker, you come back here. Nothing came back but heat. Gabe Walker, you come back for this baby. Nothing. Gabe Walker, you come back for me. She did not say please. She had used that word up an hour ago and it had not worked, and she would not. She swore on the bones of her mother. Give that word to him a single time more. She turned her head. She looked at the canvas sack beside her boot. She looked at the tin cup that was already empty. She looked at the cracked bench she'd been sitting on when he'd told her to get down. All right, she said. All right then. She had learned that trick from her mother. When the thing had already happened, you said all right. You did not say why. You did not say how could he. You said all right because all right was the first word of what comes next. All right, Sarah Grayson. The baby kicked. I know, baby. I know. The baby kicked again. Harder. I hear you. 3 hours back, she had been sitting next to Gabe on the buckboard with her hand on his sleeve. 3 hours back, she'd been a woman on her way somewhere. You've got a strange quiet on you today, Gabe Walker. Do I? You do. Maybe I'm thinking. Thinking what? Thinking. She'd let that go. She'd learned over 2 years when to let a silence sit. She should not have let it sit. Gabe, that creek back there. Can we stop? I need a minute. In a bit. My back is... In a bit, Sarah. Gabe. I said in a bit. There had been something in his voice. She had pretended to herself that there wasn't. All right. And then, 10 minutes later, when he'd pulled the team up hard beside the ruined platform and the rusted water tower and the station house nobody had used since before she was born, she'd looked at him and she'd said, "Is this the bit?" He hadn't laughed. He hadn't even blinked. Get down, Sarah. Here. Here. Gabe, there ain't a town for... I said get down. For God's sake, why? And then he had said the sentence. The one she would hear in her head, she knew for the rest of her life. We don't even know it's mine. She had stared at him. Say that again. You heard me. Gabe Walker, I want you to look me in the face and say that again. He had not looked her in the face. He had looked at the horse's ears. I said what I said. 2 years. I know how long it's been. 2 years, Gabe, and you're going to tell me on a road like this with the sun like this with your baby sitting right here under my hand. Get down. No. Sarah. No. He had reached across her. He had taken her canvas sack. He had thrown it over the side. Pick it up or leave it. Gabe, if you do this? If I do this, what, Sarah? What are you going to do? She had not answered because she had not known the answer. Get down or I swear to God I will put you down. She had gotten down. She'd gotten down because the alternative was to be pulled down, and she had too much of her mother in her to let a man pull her anywhere. And he had driven off. He had driven off without turning his head. He had driven off while she stood there with one hand on her belly and one hand reaching after him like a fool because the reaching had come before the knowing better, and there had not been time enough for the knowing better to catch up. That had been 3 hours ago. Now the sun stood straight up. Now her lips were cracked. Now her ankles were so swollen her boots wouldn't lace. Now she had pulled the boots off and set them beside her because the leather had started to cut. Think, Sarah. She said it out loud because her own voice was the only voice out here and she needed a voice. Think. You got 1 cup. Empty. You got 1 sack. 2 biscuits. A comb. You got a spoon. You got the dress on your back. You got a child in your belly who is kicking like he means it. You got no horse. You got no water. You got no shade except what this bench gives, and this bench don't give much. The baby kicked. I know, baby. You got a choice, Sarah Grayson. You can sit here and wait, or you can walk. Wait for what, though? Wait for who? For whoever rides by. Could be days. Could be an hour. Could be nobody. She put her face in her hands. She did not cry. She had cried the first half hour, and she was not going to give the sun any more of her water. Walk then. She tried to stand. Her legs refused her the first time. The second time they obeyed, shaking, and she braced herself against the post that had once held the schedule board. 1 foot. She lifted 1 foot. Other foot. She lifted the other. She made it 6 steps off the platform before she had to sit back down on the warped plank at its edge. The sun went through her dress like the dress wasn't there. All right. All right. Not walking. Waiting. The baby kicked again, and this time it was different. This time it wasn't a kick. It was a tightening, a clenching, a gripping that went all the way around her belly and squeezed. No. She put both hands on her stomach. No, 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 baby. No, not now, not here. Do you hear me? Not here. The tightening held for a count of 10, and then it let go. Oh, Lord. She had seen a woman lose a baby once, back in Fort Keene, behind the dry goods store. A girl named Annie, who had been 3 months further along than she should have been alone. She had held Annie's hand. She had not let go of Annie's hand, even when Annie had stopped squeezing back. Not me, baby. Not you. You hear me? You hold on. You hold on to me. The baby kicked once, a small kick this time, almost an apology. That's right. That's right. Don't you scare me like that. She was still talking to her belly when the first rider came. She heard him before she saw him, hooves moving at an easy pace coming from the north, not from the west. Gabe had gone west. This was not Gabe. Hello? She did not stand. She did not have standing in her. Hello, Mr. Over Here. The rider came into view at the top of the rise. A thin man on a tall sorrel horse. He wore a dark hat. He saw her. She knew he saw her because his head turned. Mister, please. He kept riding. Mister, I'm with child. Mister, I need water. He did not slow. Mister. He did not even touch his hat. He rode on by 50 yards off, and he did not look her way a second time. And she watched his back recede, and she understood that this was what a woman alone in the summer sun looked like to some men. She looked like trouble. She looked like a story they did not wish to be in. You son of a... She did not finish the word. Her mother would have reached out of the grave and clipped her if she had. She sat there a long minute, rage and sun battling for the inside of her skull. The rage won, because rage had always won in Sarah Grayson. Rage was the thing that had gotten her out of Fort Keene. Rage was the thing that had kept her fed when kindness would not. All right, that man ain't saving you. No man is saving you. You knew that already, Sarah. You knew that when you was 10 years old and your daddy walked out and your mama said girls save themselves or don't get saved. You knew that. She looked at her belly. Only now, it ain't just me gotta save baby. It's you too. The baby kicked. Yeah, you agree with me. She pulled the canvas sack toward her. She fished out a biscuit. She broke it in half. She ate one half slow. She put the other half back. Tomorrow's half. You hear me? That's tomorrow's half. She thought about Gabe Walker then. Not the Gabe of this morning on the wagon. The first Gabe. The Gabe who had walked into her uncle's dry goods store in Fort Keene when she was 17. Miss. That was the first word he had ever said to her. Mister? You work here. My uncle's store. I work the counter. I need a box of shells, 44. Back shelf. And a twist of tobacco. Jar by the door. He had paid. He had stood at the counter a moment longer than he had needed to. He had said, You got a name, miss. Got one. Gonna share it. Depends. On what? On whether you share yours first. He had grinned. She still remembered that grin. She hated now that she still remembered that grin. Gabe Walker. Sarah Grayson. Sarah. Miss Grayson to you, mister. Miss Grayson, then. 2 years. 2 years from that grin to this platform. Fool, she whispered. Fool, fool, fool of a girl. Not a girl no more, though, she answered herself. 19 and carryin'. That ain't a girl. Not yet a woman either. Then what? Then whatever this is, Sarah Grayson. Then whatever this is. The sun shifted. Not much. A finger's width. But enough that the shadow of the post had moved off her shoulder, and she had to shuffle over to keep any shade at all. I'm gonna walk. You tried walkin'. I'm gonna try again. You can't. I got to. You got to wait. I can't wait. Then walk and die. Then walk and die. She put her hands on the post and pulled herself up. Her knees shook. Her back was a line of pain from her neck to her hips. Her feet barefoot hit boards that had been heated to the temperature of a pan, and she hissed a breath in through her teeth. Boots! She sat back down. She pulled the boots on swollen ankles or not. She laced them loose. She stood again. Walk. She walked. 5 steps, 10, 20. She got past the water tower. She got onto the wagon ruts. 25 steps out, the tightening came again. This time harder. This time it doubled her over, one hand on the ruts, one hand on her belly. No. The word came out through her teeth. No, baby, no. You stay. You stay where you are. The tightening held. 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 Let go. She crawled on her hands and one knee back to the platform. She crawled because standing was no longer something her legs would agree to. She crawled the 25 steps she had just walked, and when she got to the edge of the platform, she hauled herself up onto it, with arms that felt like they belonged to somebody else. She lay flat on her back on the warped boards. All right. Not walking, waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for whoever. Waiting for the next one, the next rider. The next rider rode past you. Maybe this one won't. Maybe this one will be worse. Maybe, maybe not. She closed her eyes. She was not going to sleep. She told herself she was not going to sleep. Sleep in this sun was the same as dying in this sun, and she was not going to die in this sun, because if she died in this sun, her baby died in this sun, and her baby was not dying in this sun. Her baby was going to be born. Her baby was going to grow up. Her baby was going to know one day that its mother had sat on a dead platform in the summer of 18 and God knew, and refused barefooted and cracked-lipped and left for meat by its father to quit. You hear me, baby? The baby kicked. You hear me? She did not know how long she lay there. Long enough that the sun moved again. Long enough that her breathing slowed. Long enough that the rage in her chest went quieter, though it did not go out, because the rage in Sarah Grayson had never once gone out since the day her father had walked. And then, from somewhere down the track east, where there wasn't supposed to be anything, a sound. Her eyes opened. Hooves. One horse. Not a team. Not a wagon. One horse walking, not galloping. Coming from the wrong direction for it to be Gabe. She sat up. Too fast. Her head swam. She braced her hand on the boards. Please, she said to nobody. Please, whoever you are. And then correcting herself, please don't be worse than the last one. The hoofbeats came closer. She could see the rider now, a man, broader in the shoulder than the one who had ridden by. A bay horse, not a sorrel. The man's hat was pulled low. She could not see his face. She got herself up onto her feet. She would not be met lying down. Not by another man. Not today. Not ever again. She stood beside the post that had once held the schedule board, and she put one hand on it for balance, and she waited. The rider slowed his horse 20 yards out. He did not dismount. He looked at her. He looked at the sack beside her boot. He looked at her bare, swollen ankles, where the boots had been kicked off again without her remembering kicking them off. He looked at her belly. Then, and this was the part Sarah Grayson would remember later for the rest of her life, he looked at her face. Not at her belly. At her face. He touched the brim of his hat. Ma'am. Just that. Ma'am, Sarah Grayson, who had not been called ma'am in her life more than twice, who had been called worse than girl by the man who had left her here, who had been ridden past by a man who would not even lift his hand. Sarah Grayson opened her mouth to answer and found that her throat had gone too dry to give her the word. She swallowed. She tried again. "Mister." Her voice was a whisper. The whisper was all she had. "Mister." The rider sat a moment longer. Then he swung down off his horse slow, the way a man moves when he knows he is being watched by something that has already been startled once today. He did not come closer. He stood by his horse's head, one hand on the reins. "Ma'am," he said, and his voice was low and level, and carried the weight of a man who had somewhere behind him learned how to speak to a frightened animal without spooking it worse. "Ma'am, am I reading this right?" Sarah Grayson stood on a warped platform in the middle of a summer that had tried to kill her and her baby, both her hand on a post that had not held a schedule in 10 years, her child quiet inside her for the first time in an hour, and she looked at the stranger's face. "Mister," she said, "you're reading it right." "Ma'am, you're reading it exactly right." He did not move. He did not step closer. He did not offer her pity, and he did not offer her a hand, and he did not offer her a word she had not earned. He just stood there, holding his horse's reins, and he looked at her face, and he waited. Sarah Grayson looked back at him, and for the first time since the wagon had pulled away, she did not feel quite alone. The stranger did not move for a long count of 10. Neither did Sarah Grayson. The two of them stood there in the middle of a sun that did not care about either of them, and she understood in a way she could not have put into words that the man was giving her time. He was letting her look at him. He was letting her decide. "Mister." "Ma'am?" "You got a name?" "I do." "You gonna tell it to me?" "Jack Callahan, ma'am." "Jack Callahan." "Yes, ma'am." "You from around here, Jack Callahan? Got a place about 4 miles east." 4 miles. "Yes, ma'am." "You just happened to be riding through?" "No, ma'am. I was coming back from town." "Town being where?" "Bracken Hollow." "I ain't heard of it." "Most folks ain't." She shifted her weight. The post under her hand was the only thing keeping her upright, and she did not want him to know that. "Jack Callahan." "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to think before you answer." "All right. Are you a decent man?" He did not laugh. She had half expected him to laugh the way men did when a woman asked them a question that treated them like they might not be. He did not laugh. He looked at the ground between his boots for a breath, and then he looked back at her. "I've been told I am, ma'am. I ain't the one to say." "Who told you?" "My mother." "Your mother still livin'?" "No, ma'am." "Then her word's the last word she gave you?" "Yes, ma'am." All right, ma'am." "All right." She did not say what she had decided. He did not ask. He stood by the bay's head with the reins wrapped once around his knuckles, and he waited. "Mr. Callahan." "Jack'll do, ma'am." "Mr. Callahan, I need water." "Got water." He did not rush. He moved to the saddle, unbuckled a canteen, walked it toward her at a pace that said he knew how to approach a mare that had been whipped. He stopped 6 feet from her and held the canteen out at arm's length. "Ma'am?" She took it. Her hand shook. She hated that her hand shook. She unscrewed the cap. She drank. She drank too fast, and she knew it, and she could not help it, and the water spilled down her chin and onto her throat, and into the front of her dress, and she did not care. "Slow, ma'am." She slowed. "Slower." She slowed more. "That's it." She handed the canteen back. Half of it was gone. She had meant to leave more. She had not been able to leave more. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I drank too much." "You drank what you needed." "Ma'am, there's more at the place." She closed her eyes a second. When she opened them, he was looking at her belly, and then fast back at her face, the way a man does who has been caught doing something he had told himself not to do. "How far along, ma'am?" 7 months. 7. About. He nodded slow. He did not ask the next question. She gave it to him anyway, because she was tired of men deciding what they wanted to know about her. The father rode off this morning. Rode off. Rode off and left me on this bench. This morning. Noonish? Ma'am? Don't say you're sorry, Mr. Callahan. I wasn't gonna. Good. I was gonna say he's a coward. She looked at him. Really looked. His eyes were brown, plain brown. Not the brown that had a story in it. Just brown. You'd be right about that, ma'am. His name's Gabe Walker, in case you ever hear it. Gabe Walker. 2 years of my life, ma'am. I'm telling you because if he rides back through, I want you to know who it is you're looking at. He ain't riding back through, ma'am. You don't know that. No, ma'am, I don't. So I'll know who it is I'm looking at. She nodded. She could feel the tightening coming up again deep in her belly. She set her jaw against it. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. I need... The tightening hit. She did not get the rest of the sentence out. Her knees went. Her hand came off the post. She folded forward one arm across her stomach, the other reaching for nothing, and she made a sound she did not recognize as her own. He was there before she was halfway down. She did not know how he got there that fast. She felt his hand under her elbow and his other hand flat against her back between her shoulder blades, and he was saying something she could not hear because the tightening was in her ears now too, a roaring thing that crowded everything else out. Ma'am, breathe. Ma'am, breathe. She breathed. She breathed because a voice had told her to, and she did not have any breath of her own to do it on her own. In, out, in. Mr. In, out. Mr. Callahan, I'm in. She breathed in. Out. She breathed out. The tightening held, and then slow, it let go. She was on her knees. His hand was still between her shoulder blades. His other hand was still under her elbow. He was crouched beside her, not holding her, only steadying her the way you would steady a fence post before you drove the nail. Ma'am, I'm all right. You ain't. I am? Ma'am, with respect, you ain't. Don't you tell me what I am. No, ma'am, I won't. She lifted her head. His face was about a foot from hers. He was not looking at her the way Gabe Walker had looked at her. He was not looking at her anyway at all. He was just there the way a fence post was there. And for the first time in 6 hours, the fact of a man near her was not a thing to flinch from. How often, ma'am? How often what? The tightening. She stared at him. How do you know what it is? My sister had 3. 3 what? 3 babies. Oh, so I've heard it called. How often, ma'am? 3rd time in an hour. Getting closer together. Yes. All right. He stood. He offered her his hand. She looked at it. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. If I take this hand, it's because I've got no other hand to take. It ain't because I've decided anything about you. Understood, ma'am. She took it. He got her to her feet the way he had gotten down off the horse, slow and sure, and without any wasted motion. He walked her the 5 steps to the bench. He sat her down on it. You got a plan, Mr. Callahan? Working on one, ma'am? Work faster. Yes, ma'am. He went back to his horse. He pulled a folded blanket from behind the cantle. He brought it to her. He did not drape it over her. He set it in her lap. For the sun, ma'am. Pull it over your head. I ain't a Bible picture. No, ma'am, but the sun don't care. She pulled the blanket over her head. Now what? Now I think. Think fast. Yes, ma'am. He stood there a moment, one hand on his hip, the other on the bay's neck. The bay blew a breath out through its lips, tired of standing. 4 miles to my place. I ain't walking 4 miles, Mr. Callahan. No, ma'am. And you ain't carrying me. No, ma'am, the horse is carrying you. I ain't ridden in months. You ain't got to ride. You got to sit. On your saddle. On my saddle, I'll walk. 4 miles. 4 miles. In this sun. In this sun. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? Why? He turned his head toward her. His eyes under the hat brim were steady. Ma'am. Why would a man walk 4 miles in this sun for a woman he don't know? You want the true answer, ma'am, or the polite one? The true one, because if I rode past you, I'd have to live with riding past you. She did not answer. My mother, he said, would have risen up out of the ground and clipped me. I thought that too. Ma'am, about my mother, earlier, before you came. Then your mother and mine likely would have got along. They likely would have. All right, ma'am, up we go. He did not ask her if she was ready. He knew she was not going to be ready. He came over and he crouched and he got his arm under her knees and his other arm around her back and he lifted her off the bench like she weighed nothing, which she did not because in 7 months she had put on maybe 12 pounds and the baby was most of it. Mr. Callahan? Ma'am? I said no carrying. I ain't carrying you 4 miles, ma'am. I'm carrying you 8 feet. There's a difference. He set her sideways across the saddle, both her legs on one side, her hand on the horn. He put her canvas sack on behind her. He put her boots in the sack. He put the canteen in her lap. Hold that. Yes. Small sips. Yes. I'll walk on the horse's left. You fall toward me. You hear? I hear. Don't fall. I'll do my best. Ma'am. Mr. Callahan. Yes, ma'am. I don't know why you're doing this, but I'll remember it. He tipped the brim of his hat up with one knuckle. He looked at her straight on for the first time since he'd touched the hat. Ma'am, you don't owe me a remembering. I didn't say I owed it. I said I'd do it. All right, ma'am. All right, Mr. Callahan. He clucked to the bay. The bay moved. Sarah Grayson, who had been sitting on a dead platform 4 hours ago watching a man ride past her, was now sitting on a live horse with a man walking beside her, and she did not for the moment have a single thing to say about it. They made a 1/4 mile in silence. She counted her breaths. She counted the horse's steps. She kept her hand on the horn until her fingers cramped, and then she switched hands, and then she switched back. Mr. Callahan? Ma'am? Who's at your place? Nobody just now. Nobody. I got a woman comes in 3 days a week. Name of Hetty Boone. She ain't due till Thursday. What day's today? Tuesday. Tuesday. Yes, ma'am. So it's you and me. It's you and you, ma'am. I'll sleep in the barn. Mr. Callahan, I didn't say a word about the barn. No, ma'am, I did. All right. All right, ma'am. The bay's hooves made a soft sound on the dirt. The sun had finally begun to think about leaning westward. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. Your sister, who had the 3. Yes, ma'am. She lived near you. A pause. A long one. Long enough she turned her head to look at him. No, ma'am. Where's she live? She don't, ma'am. Oh. 4 years back. The last baby. The last baby. I'm sorry, Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. I am. I know you are, ma'am. They walked another 100 yards before he spoke again. Her name was Ruth. Ruth. She was 3 years older than me. Did the baby... The baby lived. Oh. A girl. Her name's Lila. She lives with my aunt back in Missouri. You send for her? Every year I think about it. Every year I don't. Why? Ma'am, I'm a man alone on a place. That ain't a life for a little girl. It might be. Might. Is she happy where she is? My aunt writes. She says so. You believe her. He thought about it. She respected that he thought about it instead of answering fast. Most days. That's an honest answer. Ma'am, I don't know any other kind to give. The tightening came again. She felt it start in her lower back and wrap around. She bit down on the inside of her cheek and did not make a sound. Ma'am. I'm all right. You ain't. Keep walking, Mr. Callahan. Yes, ma'am. He kept walking. He did not slow. He did not speed up. He kept the bay at the same steady pace, and he put one hand light on her knee just to say he was there, and he took it off again the second the tightening passed. Getting closer together. Yes. How close? 20 minutes, maybe. Ma'am. Don't you say anything, Mr. Callahan. Don't you even think it. I wasn't going to say anything. Good. I was going to walk faster. He walked faster. They got to the first fence line with the sun still up, but leaning hard. The bay knew the fence. The bay's ears pricked forward. Homeboy. Is this your land? From that cottonwood on. It's big. It's what I could afford. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. How'd you afford it? Worked. That's all. That's all. No family money. No, ma'am, no family. Just you. Just me. They turned up a rutted track. The bay wanted to trot. The bay was not permitted to trot. Easy, fella. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. I don't want to go into a stranger's house. He stopped. The bay stopped. He looked up at her, his hat brim low, his hand still light on the reins. Ma'am. I know I ain't got a choice. Ma'am, you got a choice? What choice? You can sleep in the barn with me. I'll sleep in the other stall. She almost laughed. It was the first almost laugh she had had in a day. You'd do that? Yes, ma'am. You'd give a stranger your bed and take the barn. Yes, ma'am. Or you'd let a stranger have the barn and the bed and you'd sleep in the barn same either way. Yes, ma'am. Why? Ma'am, I already answered that one. Answer it again. Because my mother would rise up. She must have been somebody. She was, ma'am. They came up over a small rise, and there it was. A low cabin sod-roofed. A lean-to on the side. A barn bigger than the cabin. A corral. A rough-dug well with a rope and a bucket. A shade tree old with a bench under it. She had expected worse. She had expected better. She had expected something she could judge. What she got was a place that had been kept. Kept. That was the word. Every board that needed nailing had been nailed. Every hinge that needed greasing had been greased. It was not a fine place, and it was not a rich place, but it was a place somebody had decided to keep. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? Your place looks after itself, does it? No, ma'am. You do it all? Most. By yourself? Mostly. All right. All right, ma'am? All right, Mr. Callahan. He led the bay up to the cabin door. He held up his hand. Wait. I wasn't going nowhere. He went inside first. She heard him moving. She heard a window being opened. She heard a chair being pulled. She heard him come back out. Ma'am? Ready? Ready. He lifted her down the same way he had lifted her up. 8 feet, he had said, and he carried her the 8 feet through the door, and he set her careful as a man setting down a hen into a straight-back chair by a window he had just opened. Water's there. I'll get more from the well. Don't stand. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am. I need to lie down. Bed's through there, but lying down on that tightenin' my sister said sittin' was better. Your sister said that. Yes, ma'am. Then sittin'. Yes, ma'am. He went out. She heard the well rope. She heard the bucket come up. She heard him talking low to the bay, telling it was a good horse and that it had earned its oats. She sat in the chair. She put her hand on her belly. The baby kicked low and slow. You hear that, baby? The baby kicked. A man who talks to his horse. That's a thing. You remember that. A man who talks to his horse like he means it, that's a man who's got something in him. The baby kicked again. Don't get attached, though. We ain't stayin'. You hear me? We ain't stayin'. We rest up. We find a town. We figure out what comes next. We don't get attached. The baby kicked a third time harder, like the baby had an opinion. Hush. Jack came back in with a fresh bucket of water and a ladle. He set it on the table beside her chair. He filled the ladle. He handed it to her. Small sips. You said. I'm saying again. She drank. Small sips. She handed the ladle back. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? The nearest town. Bracken Hollow, 6 miles. 6. Yes, ma'am. Got a doctor there. Got a man who claims to be. That ain't the same thing. No, ma'am, it ain't. Got a midwife. Got Mrs. Kettleman. She any good? She brought most of the county. Can you send for her? He paused. She watched him pause. What? Ma'am? What is it? Mrs. Kettleman don't come to a place unless the woman's in it for a week at least. It's her rule. Her rule. She's been burned too often. Rides out, gets there, the woman's already moved on. She's out 2 days on the road. So I'd have to stay a week. At least? Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? A week. A week. She put her head back against the chair. She closed her eyes. The baby kicked. She felt the edge of another tightening, far off, not here yet, but coming. All right, ma'am. All right, Mr. Callahan, a week. I'll ride for her tomorrow at first light. Not tonight. Tonight I ain't leaving you alone. I said don't say that. No, ma'am, you said don't say you're sorry. You didn't say don't say I ain't leaving you alone. She opened her eyes. He was standing 3 feet from her hat off, now his hair dark and flattened where the band had pressed it, and there was something in his face she did not know how to read. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? I'm 19 years old. Ma'am? I ain't a fool. I did not think you were ma'am. I know what a man can want from a woman in my state. Ma'am? I'm saying it out loud because I'd rather say it out loud than have it in the room quiet. I hear you, ma'am. And you've got my word, Sarah Grayson. You have my word on my mother's name. I do not want a thing from you. Not a thing. You sit in this chair. You sleep in that bed. You eat off that table. And when you're strong enough to walk or ride, I'll take you where you say. She looked at him. She looked at him for a long time. Your mother's name. Sarah. The kitchen went quiet. What? My mother's name was Sarah. Sarah Grayson put her hand over her mouth. Don't. Ma'am, don't tell me that. It's her name, ma'am. I ain't made it up. I know you ain't made it up. I'm telling you, don't tell me that because I can't. Mr. Callahan, I cannot sit in a stranger's chair and drink a stranger's water and find out the stranger's mother was my own name. I cannot. Ma'am, I cannot. All right. All right. I won't say it again. Say it once more, just once, so I heard it right. Sarah. She sat with it. She sat with her hand still over her mouth. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? Your mother must have been something. She was, ma'am. I'd have liked to have known her. She'd have liked you, ma'am. You don't know that. No, ma'am, but I think it. The quiet held a long second. Then the bay out by the corral let out a whinny. Sharp, the kind a horse makes when it has seen or heard another horse. Jack's head came up. Mr. Callahan, stay in the chair. What is it? Stay in the chair, Sarah. He was moving. She had not seen a man move like that since a fight had broken out in her uncle's store. He was at the window. He was at the door. He had a rifle off 2 pegs beside the door frame, and the rifle was in his hands before she had quite understood the rifle was there to be taken. Mr. Callahan, stay in the chair. He opened the door. He stepped out. He did not close it behind him. She could see past him. She could see the track. She could see the dust. A rider, not coming slow, coming. Mr. Callahan? Sarah. Who is it? Can't tell yet. Is it him? I can't tell yet. Mr. Callahan. I'm here, Sarah. If it's him, then it's him. The rider came over the rise. Even at that distance, even with the sun behind him, Sarah Grayson knew the set of the shoulders. She knew the tilt of the hat. She knew the horse. It was him. It was Gabe Walker. And Gabe Walker was riding hard straight up the track, straight at the cabin, and he was not alone. A second rider came up behind him. A man she did not know. A man on a gray horse. A man with a rifle laid across his saddle bow, visible even at that range, because the man had not bothered to try and hide it. Sarah? I see them. Stay in the chair. Mr. Callahan, stay in the chair, I mean it. Sarah Grayson put both hands on her belly, and she did not stay in the chair. She stood up. Her knees held her. Her knees, which had not held her an hour before, held her now because the rage in Sarah Grayson had come back up, and the rage was a kind of bone. She walked to the door. She put her hand on the jamb. She looked past Jack Callahan's shoulder at the man who had left her on a platform 6 hours ago, coming up the track to the place where she had, for the first time in her life, been called ma'am by a man who meant it. And Sarah Grayson, 19, and carrying and cracked-lipped and sunburnt, opened her mouth, and she said the one word she had promised herself she would never say to Gabe Walker again. No. The word came out flat, not loud. Sarah Grayson had not thrown it. She had set it down the way a woman sets down a pan that is too heavy to carry any further. Sarah, stay behind me, ma'am. Mr. Callahan, behind me. She did not go behind him. She stood in the doorway with her hand on the jamb, and she watched the two riders come up the last 50 yards of the track. Gabe Walker pulled the wagon team up short. He was not on the wagon. He was on the near horse unhitched bareback with the other horse following on a lead. Sweat had made a dark line down his shirt. His hat was set too high on his head. He had ridden hard, and he had ridden angry, and Sarah Grayson knew both the look of him hard and the look of him angry, and she had never in 2 years seen the two of them on his face at the same time. The second rider came up 10 yards behind and stopped. He did not speak. He did not dismount. He sat his gray with the rifle across the saddle bow, the way a man sits a horse when he is being paid to wait. Sarah Grayson. Gabe's voice came across the yard. Get on the horse. She did not answer him. Sarah, I said get on the horse. Jack Callahan took 1 step forward off the porch. 1 step, that was all. Mister, who in the hell are you? Name's Callahan. I didn't ask your name, Callahan. I asked who in the hell you are. I'm the man whose yard you're standin' in. That woman is mine. That woman is standin' in my doorway, mister. Sarah. Sarah Grayson did not speak. Sarah, don't you make me come in there. Gabe Walker. What? You left me on a platform. Sarah. You left me on a platform, you left me barefoot, and you left me with your baby inside me, and you rode off without turning your head. I come back, didn't I? You come back 4 hours late. I come back. With a man I don't know. Friend of mine. Gabe Walker. What? You ain't got any friends. Something moved in his face, a muscle by his jaw. Sarah Grayson had seen that muscle move before, and the time she had seen it, she had learned every time to be somewhere else in about 30 seconds. Get the horse, Sarah. No. Sarah. I said no, Gabe. Sarah, I am telling you. You are telling me nothing. Not one thing more. Not ever. Jack Callahan took another step. He had not raised the rifle. He held it easy in one hand, the stock down the barrel pointed at the dirt. The second rider, the one on the gray, watched Jack's hands. Not his face. His hands. Mr. Walker. Callahan. You heard the lady. The lady is my woman. The lady is in my house. You sleepin' with her, Callahan? Mr. Walker. 4 hours, and you already got her in your house. I'm asking you straight. Mr. Walker, I am going to ask you one time, and then I ain't going to ask again. Turn your horse around. Callahan. Turn your horse around. I ain't going anywhere without her. Sarah Grayson stepped past Jack Callahan's shoulder. She did not push. She did not ask him to move. She stepped past him, the way a woman steps past a closed gate, and she kept her hand on her belly, and she walked 3 steps out into the yard. Sarah. Jack said her name low. It's all right, Mr. Callahan. Sarah. I want him to hear me. I want him to hear me standing up, not sitting in a chair. She took 2 more steps. She stopped. She was 10 yards from Gabe now, close enough that he could see her face, close enough that she could see his. "Gabe Walker." "Sarah, why'd you come back?" "I come back for you." "Why?" "Because I was wrong. I was wrong to leave you on that bench. I was hot. Sarah, I was tired. Gabe Walker. And I rode 2 hours before I understood what I'd done. Gabe Walker. Why? And I turned around. I turned that team around, Sarah. I drove back to that platform and you wasn't there, and I thought, Gabe Walker. What? Who is the man on the gray? Silence. Gabe. Who is the man? Friend. You ain't got a friend with a rifle who rides 10 yards behind you, Gabe Walker. That man ain't a friend. Sarah, will you just get on the horse? Who is he? The man on the gray spoke. His voice carried. It was not a loud voice. It was a voice that did not need to be loud. Name's Hollis, ma'am. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am, what brings you to this yard? Gabe turned his head fast. Hollis, she ain't asked you a thing. She asked me my business, Walker. She didn't? She did. Hollis did not raise his voice. He did not move the rifle. He sat his horse with both hands quiet on the saddle bow, and he looked at Sarah Grayson across the 10 yards with eyes that had seen a great many yards in a great many places. Ma'am, I'm here because Mr. Walker owes a debt. A debt. $840. Hollis. To Mr. Creel out of Bracken Hollow. Hollis, you shut your mouth. And Mr. Walker told Mr. Creel yesterday evening that he had a way to settle it. Hollis, I swear to God. Mr. Walker said, ma'am, that he had a woman with family money. He said her uncle in Fort Keene runs a dry goods store that clears $600 a month. He said if he could get her back to Fort Keene and get her in front of her uncle in her condition, the uncle would pay. The yard was very quiet. Ma'am, Hollis said. I was paid to ride along and make sure Mr. Walker did what he said he would. Hollis, she don't need to. Mr. Walker, shut up. Hollis said it the same way he had said the rest. Quiet. No heat. Gabe's mouth opened and closed and did not make another sound. Sarah Grayson stood in the yard with her hand on her belly, and she did not feel anything for a breath. Then she felt everything at once. Every minute of 2 years. Every I love you. Every we'll get married next spring. Every your uncle will come around, Sarah, you'll see. Fort Keene. Yes, ma'am. You was taking me to Fort Keene. Gabe did not answer. Gabe Walker. You was taking me to Fort Keene to shake down my uncle. Sarah, it wasn't. You was. Sarah, you got to understand. When was the wedding, Gabe? What? When was the wedding you promised me? You said next spring. Last summer you said next spring. Was there ever a weddin', Gabe Walker? Sarah? Was there ever a weddin'? Sarah, don't do this here. Was there ever? He did not answer. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am? Has Mr. Walker got a wife? Hollis looked at Gabe. Hollis looked back at Sarah. Ma'am, that ain't my business to say. Mr. Hollis, I am asking you as a woman standing in a yard 7 months along. Has that man got a wife? Hollis was quiet a long second. Ma'am, he's got one in Ellsworth. Sarah Grayson did not make a sound. She did not move. She stood in the yard, and she let that sentence go all the way down through her. Ellsworth. Yes, ma'am. Kansas. Yes, ma'am. How long? 4 years, ma'am. Children. 2. Something in Sarah Grayson's chest that had been holding itself together for 2 years chose that moment to let go. She did not cry. She did not scream. She opened her mouth and she laughed. One short laugh. A laugh that had no happy in it at all. Sarah. Don't you say my name. Sarah, she ain't. Gabe Walker. If you say my name again, I swear on the baby, in this belly, I will pick up a rock out of this yard and I will throw it at your head. Sarah. She bent down. She picked up a rock. Sarah put that. She threw it. She did not throw it well. Her arm was tired and her belly was in the way. The rock hit the near horse on the shoulder. The horse jumped. Gabe Bareback did not. He came off sideways and he hit the dirt hard, and the horse bolted, and Hollis's gray sidestepped, and Jack Callahan came up on the balls of his feet with the rifle lifted an inch and not a hair more. Easy. That was Hollis, not to Jack, to his own horse. Easy, girl. The gray settled. Gabe sat up in the dust. His hat had come off. His hair was in his eyes. He looked at Sarah Grayson across the yard, and his face was a face she had never seen on him before, and she understood with a clarity that felt almost kind that she had never in 2 years seen his real face at all. You. He got up slow. He did not go for his hat. You broke a horse's shoulder, Sarah Grayson. I did not break a horse's shoulder. You coulda. I did not. You get on that horse. No. You get on that horse or I swear. Mr. Walker. Jack's voice, level as ever. The rifle was at his hip now, not aimed, held. Mr. Walker, that lady has told you no 4 times. She has told you no 4 times in the last 3 minutes. Callahan. Mr. Walker, turn around. Get your horse. Get on it. Ride. You don't tell me. I am telling you, Mr. Walker. On my porch. In my yard. I am telling you. I'll come back. You won't. I'll come back with 10 men. You won't, Mr. Walker. Why won't I? Hollis spoke. Because you won't be in any condition to Walker. Gabe's head turned. Hollis? You lied to Mr. Creel. Hollis, you listen. You told Mr. Creel the uncle in Fort Keene would pay $840 on the sight of his niece in this state. He will. He won't. He will, Hollis. I swear to God. Mr. Creel sent a boy to Fort Keene 3 days ago, Walker. The uncle said, and I'm quoting the boy, he said, I ain't got a niece no more. She rode off with a gambler 2 years back. She ain't my blood. She ain't my business. She ain't coming home. Sarah Grayson closed her eyes. Sarah. Jack's voice again. Softer now. Sarah, ma'am. She opened her eyes. I heard him, Mr. Callahan. Ma'am, you don't have to. I heard him. She had not known until that sentence how much she had been counting on her uncle. Not for money. She had not come out here expecting money. But for the door. For the door to be there if she ran at it. For the door to open eventually when she knocked. The door was gone. She stood in the yard of a stranger, and she understood that the door she had thought was at her back had never been a door at all. Well, she said it to herself. Well, all right. Sarah. All right, Mr. Callahan. What? All right. She turned. She looked at Gabe Walker on his feet in the dust of a yard that was not his. She looked at Hollis on a gray horse. She looked at Jack Callahan with a rifle held easy. Gabe Walker. Sarah. The baby ain't yours. The yard went still. What? The baby ain't yours, Gabe. Sarah, you said this morning you didn't know if it was yours. Remember, you said we don't even know it's mine. Well, you was right, Gabe. It ain't yours. It's mine. It has always been mine. You ain't got a claim on it. You ain't got a claim on me. You ain't got a claim on one rock in this yard. Sarah, you liar, you. I'm a liar. You. I'm a liar. Gabe Walker, you with a wife in Ellsworth and 2 children and a debt in Bracken Hollow are calling me a liar. Sarah, get off this land. Sarah, Mr. Hollis. Ma'am. Is Mr. Walker going back to Bracken Hollow with you? Yes, ma'am. Is Mr. Creel expecting him? Yes, ma'am. Is Mr. Creel going to be happy to see him? Hollis was quiet a second. No, ma'am. He ain't. All right. Ma'am, for what it's worth. Mr. Hollis, I wouldn't have laid a hand on you. If the Fort Keene play had worked, I'd have ridden away when the money changed hands. I ain't the other kind. I believe you, Mr. Hollis. Ma'am. Take him. Ma'am. Hollis clucked once to his gray. He moved the rifle slow so that it lay across the saddle bow, pointing at Gabe Walker's chest. Walker. Hollis, you. Walker, your horse is 100 yards down the track. Go get it. Mount up. Right in front of me. You try anything fancy between here and Bracken Hollow. You try one fancy thing, and I will put a 44 through your back, and I will ride into Mr. Creel's yard with you, tied across your own saddle, and I will get paid just the same. Are we understood? Gabe Walker looked at Sarah Grayson. Sarah. Don't. Sarah, she. Gabe. She made me do it, Sarah. The wife. She don't love me. She. Gabe Walker. What? The day I met you in my uncle's store, I was 17 years old. Sarah. I was 17 and you leaned on that counter and you said, Miss, you got a name. And I gave you my name. I gave you my name, Gabe, because I thought you was somebody. I am somebody, Sarah. You ain't. Sarah. You ain't somebody. You're a man with 2 lives and a debt, and I ain't in either of 'em anymore. She turned. She walked back to the cabin. Her knees had started to shake again, but she did not let them show it because she was being watched by 4 men and a horse, and she had decided that not one of them was going to see her shake. She got to the porch. She put her hand on the rail. She went up the 1 step. She got to the doorway. She turned back. Gabe Walker. Sarah. If you ever speak my name again in any yard in any town to any person, I will find out about it, and I will come for you. Do you hear me? He did not answer. Do you hear me, Gabe Walker? I hear you. Say it. I hear you, Sarah. Say my name is not yours to say. Sarah. Say it. Your name is not mine to say. Good. She went inside. She got 2 steps into the cabin before her knees went. She caught herself on the back of the chair. She lowered herself hand by hand into the seat. She put both hands flat on the table in front of her. She stared at her hands. Outside, she heard Hollis's voice low and steady, giving orders she could not quite make out. She heard Gabe Walker's voice arguing, pleading, then cut off by Hollis saying one word sharp. She heard the sound of a horse being caught and brought up. She heard the sound of hooves moving away. She heard Jack Callahan's boots on the porch. He stopped at the door. He did not come in. Ma'am? Mr. Callahan. You all right? No. No, ma'am. Come in. He came in. He set the rifle back on its 2 pegs beside the door. He did not touch her. He went to the water bucket. He filled the ladle. He brought it over. He set it on the table in front of her. Drink. I will. Now. She drank. Small sips. She set the ladle down. Mr. Callahan. Ma'am? I want to tell you something, and I want you to listen. Yes, ma'am. I am 19 years old. I have no people. I have an uncle who has, as of 3 days ago, said out loud to a boy from Bracken Hollow that I am not his blood. I had a mother who died when I was 15. I had a father who walked when I was 10. I had a man for 2 years who had a wife in Kansas that I did not know about, and 2 children I did not know about, and a debt I did not know about, and who was going to trade me to a lender in a town I had never heard of before today for $840. That is the full account in Mr. Callahan. That is every person I thought I had. Ma'am? I am telling you this because I do not want you to wake up tomorrow and think you took in a woman with a family. I do not have a family. I have a belly. I have this dress. I have 1 pair of boots. I have 2 biscuits in a sack out on your porch. That is what you took in. Ma'am? Do you hear me? I hear you, Miss Grayson. Miss. Miss. You called me ma'am for 3 hours. I did. Why miss now? Because a ma'am is a woman with a man. You ain't got one. You just said so. Oh. Miss Grayson. Mr. Callahan. My name is Jack. Jack. If you want. I want. Jack, then. Jack. She said it a second time, testing the shape of it in her mouth. She had not said a man's first name in 2 years without Gabe's name attached to it, and Jack was a shorter word than she was used to. Miss Grayson? Sarah, if we're trading. Sarah. Jack, I. The tightening hit. It hit harder than any of the others. It hit all at once from her back all the way around to the front, and it did not let go after 10. It did not let go after 15. It held, and Sarah Grayson doubled over with both hands on the edge of the table, and she made a sound that was half moan and half curse. Sarah. Jack. Sarah, breathe. Jack, I can't. Breathe. In. Come on. In. Jack. In. She breathed in. She breathed out. The tightening did not let go. How long? Too long. Sarah. Jack, this ain't. Sarah, look at me. She lifted her head. Her eyes were wet. She had not noticed them go wet. Sarah, how long has this been going on? Since noon. Since noon. Since about when he left me. 7 hours. About. Getting worse. Getting worse. Closer together. Closer. Sarah. Jack. I have to ride for Mrs. Kettleman. You said first light. I can't wait for first light. You said, Sarah, I am listening to you. You are telling me something is wrong. I am listening. I am riding now. Jack, I. Sarah. I am scared. It was the first time she had said it out loud in 9 hours. Sarah, I know. I am scared, Jack. I know. I don't want to lose this baby. Sarah. I don't want to lose this baby. Not to this. Not on a day when not on a day like this. Not after Jack. Sarah Grayson, listen to me. I'm listening. You are not losing this baby tonight. You don't know that. I know what I can do. I can ride. I can get Mrs. Kettleman. I can be back here in 2 hours if I push the bay. Can you give me 2 hours? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Sarah. I am sure. Ride, Jack. I'm gonna put the canteen right here. I'm gonna put the bucket right here. I'm gonna put the blanket on the chair by the bed. I'm gonna bar the front door from inside before I go. You will hear me go out the window on the back side of the cabin. You hear the window, that's me. You do not open that door for any man. Any man. Do you hear me? Yes. Any man. Yes. Not Hollis, not Walker, not a preacher, not a peddler, nobody. I will come back through the window same way I went. Yes. Sarah. Jack. I will come back. I know. 2 hours. 2 hours. He moved fast then. He barred the door. He set the bucket and the canteen and the ladle on the table within her reach. He brought the blanket. He laid it across her shoulders. He stood a second looking down at her. Sarah. Jack. My mother used to say... He stopped. What did she say? She used to say a woman alone is a woman with every door shut. A woman who gets one door open to her even once, even by a stranger, ain't alone anymore. Sarah Grayson looked up at him with the blanket around her shoulders and her hands on her belly and the tightening finally easing. Your mother was something, Jack Callahan. She was. Ride. Ridin'. He went. She heard him at the back window. She heard him drop down into the yard on the far side. She heard him at the corral. She heard the bay protest at being mounted again. She heard the bay settle. She heard hooves moving hard away. She sat at the table in a cabin she did not know, in a chair that belonged to a man she had met 4 hours ago, with a baby in her belly who was not Gabe Walker's anymore, because she had decided out loud in a yard that he wasn't. And she put her face down on her arms on the table, and she let herself, for the first time since noon, cry. She cried for 3 minutes. She counted them because she did not trust herself to cry longer. Then she sat up. She wiped her face on the blanket. She drank from the ladle. Baby. The baby kicked. Baby, we are gonna live through this night. The baby kicked again. You hear me? We are gonna live through this night. Your mother is not quittin'. Your mother has not quit one single time in 19 years, and she ain't startin' tonight, and you are not startin' tonight either. You hear me? The baby kicked small, answering. Good. And then far off from the direction of the track, not the direction Jack had ridden, But the other direction, the direction Gabe, Walker, and Hollis had gone, she heard something she should not have heard. A single gunshot. Flat. Distant. Unmistakable. Sarah Grayson sat up very straight in the chair with both hands flat on the table, and she listened, and she did not hear a second one. She listened a long time. She did not hear a second one. The gunshot sat in the air a long minute after it had stopped sounding. Sarah Grayson sat with it. She did not move. She did not call out. She did not go to the window. She sat with her hands flat on the table, and she listened for the second shot the way a woman listens for a second heartbeat. It did not come. 1. She said it out loud because saying it made it a thing instead of a feeling. 1 shot, baby. Just 1. The baby kicked. I know. I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking it too. She thought it. She did not like thinking it. 1 shot meant one of 2 things. 1 shot meant Hollis had made good on his word and had put a .44 through Gabe Walker's back. Or 1 shot meant Gabe Walker had got to Hollis first. Lord. The word came out of her without asking her permission. She was not in the habit of praying. Her mother had prayed. Her mother had died of a cough anyway. Sarah Grayson had been suspicious of prayer since she was 15. Lord, if you're taking requests, let it be the first one. The baby kicked. Yeah, you too. She counted to 60. She counted to 60 again. She got to 300 before she heard the next sound, and the next sound was the one she did not want to hear. A horse, walking, coming up the track, not galloping, walking, slow. The way a horse walks when its rider has told it to walk, or when its rider cannot tell it anything at all. Sarah Grayson put both hands on the arms of the chair. She pushed herself up. Her knees held. She did not know why her knees held, but they held. She crossed the cabin to the front window. She did not open the shutter. She pressed her eye to the gap between the boards. A horse. The gray. Hollis's gray. A rider. Slumped. 1 hand on the saddle horn. The other hand pressed to his side. Hollis. No. She said it flat. The gray came up the track at the walk. It came up to the hitching rail in front of the porch. Hollis did not dismount. He sat the horse with his hand pressed to his side and his head down, and she could see even through the gap in the shutter the dark on his shirt where his hand was. Ma'am? He did not raise his head. He did not raise his voice. He said it loud enough to carry to the door. Ma'am, it's Hollis. Sarah Grayson stood at the shutter with her hand over her mouth. Ma'am, I ain't asking to come in. I'm telling you what's happened. She did not answer. Ma'am, Walker jumped me a mile down the track. He had a knife in his boot. I did not search him for a knife. That's on me. I put one in him before he got the second cut in. He's in the dirt back there. He ain't coming. Sarah Grayson still did not answer. Ma'am, I am riding on to Bracken Hollow. I ain't coming in. I ain't asking for nothing. I wanted you to know before I went that the man ain't coming back. She pressed her forehead against the shutter. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am. How bad? Bad enough. Will you make Bracken Hollow? I'll make it or I won't. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am. There is a woman in this house who is 7 months along, and the man who rode out of here an hour ago is riding for a midwife and will not be back for another hour. I cannot open this door. I gave him my word. Ma'am, I am not asking you to open the door. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am, there is a horse trough on the side of the cabin. Full this morning. Water your horse. Wash the cut if you can get to it. There is a rag nailed to the post. Use it. Ma'am, that is what I can give you through a shut door. Ma'am, that is more than I came for. Mr. Hollis? Ma'am? The 1 shot. Ma'am. The one I heard. Was that you or him? A pause. That was me, ma'am. Good. Ma'am. Right on Mr. Hollis. Ma'am, one thing. What? He ain't in the dirt alone. What? There was a third man. Sarah Grayson's hand came off the shutter. A third? Walker didn't come up here with just me, ma'am. There was a man trailing us the whole ride. I made him at a mile. Walker didn't know. When Walker jumped me, the third man come up on us. I put the one in Walker, I turned, and the third man was gone. Rode off hard, back the way we come. Who was he? Didn't see his face. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am, you are telling me there is a man out there I don't know about? Yes, ma'am. Why would Walker have had a man trailing? Ma'am, a man with 2 wives and a debt don't ride one direction without somebody at his back. Oh, Lord. Ma'am, bar everything. I am riding. Mr. Hollis. Ma'am. Thank you. Don't thank me, ma'am. I come up that track for $840. You don't owe me thanks. I am thanking you anyway. Ma'am, she heard the gray move. She heard it move past the trough. She heard the hooves pick up to a slow trot and move away. She stood at the shutter, a long breath. Baby. The baby kicked. Baby, there is a third man. She turned from the shutter. She crossed back to the chair. She sat. She put her hands on her belly. Baby, I do not know that man's name. I do not know that man's face. I do not know what that man wants. I do not know if he is riding for Bracken Hollow or if he is riding for this cabin. The baby kicked small. I do not know, baby. I do not know. And your mother does not like not knowing. She reached for the ladle. She drank. She set it down. All right. All right. Think, Sarah Grayson. Think. The tightening hit. It came up out of her back, and it wrapped her front, and it kept going. She bent forward. She held on to the edge of the table. Not now. Not now. Not now. The tightening did not care what she said. The tightening held. 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 In, out, in, out. She breathed the way Jack had told her to breathe. She breathed the way she had seen Annie breathe back behind the dry goods store in the minutes before Annie had stopped breathing at all. No, not Annie. I ain't Annie. I ain't Annie, baby, you hear me? I am not Annie, and you are not Annie's baby. We are not Annie. The tightening let go. She sat up slow. She wiped her forehead with the back of her wrist. Her hand was shaking. All right, all right. And then from the yard a sound. Boots. Not a horse, not hooves, boots. On the dirt. Coming up toward the porch. Sarah Grayson stopped breathing. The boots stopped at the foot of the porch steps. They did not come up. A voice. Sarah. It was not Jack. It was not Hollis. It was Gabe Walker. Sarah. She did not move. She did not breathe. She sat in the chair with both hands on her belly and the blanket around her shoulders, and the man she had told in a yard that she would find him if he ever said her name again was standing at the foot of the porch steps saying her name. Sarah, I know you're in there. She did not answer. Sarah, Hollis shot me. You hear me? He shot me. I ain't gonna make it, Sarah. I ain't. She closed her eyes. Sarah, I walked here. I walked from the track. I'm bleeding out, Sarah. Lie. It was a lie. She knew Gabe Walker's voice when he was lying. Gabe Walker's voice went thin at the top when he was lying, and Gabe Walker's voice was thin at the top right now. Sarah, please. Please. She had said that word to him on the wagon. He had not known it. Sarah, just open the door. Just open the door and look at me. Look at me one time. I want to see your face one time before. Gabe. Sarah. Gabe Walker. Sarah, please. Gabe Walker, are you bleeding? Yes, Sarah. Where? My side. Sarah, please. Left side or right? Left. Gabe Walker. Mr. Hollis told me he put the knife in the wrong man. He told me you come off that track clean. Silence. Long silence. Long enough to be an answer. Gabe Walker. Sarah, you lied again. Even now with a shut door between us and me with a baby coming and the sun going down and nothing left for you to gain. You lied one more time. Sarah let me in. No. Sarah, I ain't got nowhere to go. Hollis told Creel. Creel will kill me. Sarah, you are my last. Gabe Walker. Sarah. Who was the third man? A pause. What? Mr. Hollis told me there was a third man on the ride up. A man I did not see. Who was he, Gabe? There wasn't no third man. Gabe. There wasn't Sarah. Gabe Walker, you lie to me one more time and I'm gonna open this door and I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna pick up that rock I threw at your horse and I'm gonna put it through the back of your head. Do you hear me? A long breath from the other side of the door. His name's Doyle. Doyle who? Just Doyle. Who does he ride for? Creel. Creel sent him. Creel sent him to watch Hollis. Why? Because Creel don't trust Hollis no more either. Why? Because Hollis went soft Sarah. Hollis has been with Creel 8 years and he's going soft. Creel wanted a man to watch the man. That's Doyle. Where is Doyle now? I don't know. Gabe. I don't know Sarah. Last I saw him he was riding back east. Riding back to Creel. Maybe. Or riding to cut off Mr. Callahan on the road to the midwife. A long, long pause. Sarah? Gabe is Doyle riding for Jack. Sarah, I don't... Is he? I don't know. I swear to God. Creel don't tell me his plans. Sarah Grayson stood up. Her knees did not shake this time. Her knees did not have permission to shake this time. Gabe Walker. Sarah. Get off this porch. Sarah. Get off this porch and walk. I do not care where. Walk toward Bracken Hollow. Walk toward Mexico. Walk into the sun. I do not care. But you are going to walk off this porch, and you are going to keep walking until you are a mile from this cabin. And if I hear your foot on this step one more time tonight, I am going to the back window, and I am taking Jack Callahan's spare rifle off the wall above his bed, and I am going to open this door, and I am going to shoot you in the yard, where you stand, Gabe Walker. Do you hear me? I will do it. I will not flinch. I will not cry after. I will bury you myself under the cottonwood, and I will not mark the grave. Sarah. Do you hear me? I hear you. Walk. Sarah. Walk, Gabe Walker. She heard him move. She heard the steps come off the porch. She heard the boots on the dirt. She heard them go. She counted. She counted to 100. She counted to 200. She did not hear the boots come back. She stood in the middle of the cabin with her hand over her mouth. She was not going to cry. She had cried 3 minutes earlier, and she was not going to do it again tonight. Then she ran to the back window. She did not have much run in her, but she had enough for the 6 strides to the back window, and she got the shutter open, and she leaned out and she looked east the way Jack had ridden, and she did not see him because she was not going to see him yet, because he had only been gone an hour, and she had given him 2. Jack! The name came out of her in a voice she did not recognize as her own. Jack Callahan. You ride, you hear me. You ride fast. She did not know if he could hear her. He could not hear her. She said it anyway. Then she pulled back in. She closed the shutter. She barred it. She crossed to the wall above the bed. She looked up. There was a rifle. Not the one Jack had taken down from beside the door. A second rifle. Older. An octagonal barrel. Shorter than the first. A rifle a man keeps when he thinks one rifle is not enough. She took it down. It was heavier than it looked. She sat down on the edge of the bed with it in her lap. She turned it over. She found the lever. She worked the lever. A shell came out. A brass shell fresh. She caught it. She worked the lever back. The shell went in. She set the hammer to half-cock the way her father had shown her when she was 8, and he had still in those days been the kind of man who showed a daughter things. I ain't 8 anymore, Daddy. She said it to the rifle. She said it to the empty cabin. She said it to the baby. I ain't 8 anymore. The tightening hit. She caught herself on the bed frame. She folded forward over the rifle. She did not let it fall. In. Out. In. The tightening held. Baby. Baby, you wait. You wait. You give me another hour. You give your mother another hour to keep a door shut and a rifle up. The tightening held. Baby. The tightening let go. She sat up. She wiped her forehead on the blanket. She got herself carefully off the bed and back to the chair at the table, because the chair at the table had the door in line of sight, and the door was the thing she was watching now. She laid the rifle across her knees. She kept her hand on the lever. She counted her breaths. Time passed. She did not know how much. Long enough that the light through the shutter cracks had changed color. Long enough that the baby had kicked 12 times and she had counted each one. Long enough that the tightening had come twice more and she had breathed through both. And then hooves. More than one horse. Coming up the track. Fast. Sarah Grayson stood up. She got the rifle to her shoulder. She crossed to the shutter. She put her eye to the gap. 2 horses. The bay in front. Jack Callahan on it, hat low, one arm across the front of the saddle. Behind him, on a stout little mule, a woman. A woman in a dark bonnet with a big canvas bag across her lap. Mrs. Kettleman. Sarah Grayson let her head rest against the shutter. She let out a breath she had been holding for an hour. Oh, thank. She did not finish. She did not know who she was thanking. She did not care. She got to the door. She lifted the bar. She opened it. Jack Callahan came up the porch steps 2 at a time. He saw the rifle in her hands. His face changed. Sarah. Jack. Sarah what? Gabe was here. Gabe. Gabe come up on the porch. Hollis got him on the track, but not clean. Gabe walked up here. I sent him off with a promise. Sarah. And there's a third man, Jack. A man named Doyle. Riding for Creel. Hollis said he broke east. Gabe said he don't know where. I thought he might be riding to cut you off. Jack Callahan stood in the doorway. He looked down at her with the rifle in her hands and her hair come loose, and the blanket around her shoulders and the 7th-month weight of a baby in her belly. Sarah Grayson. Jack. You held this cabin. I held it. The woman behind him came up the steps. She was short. She was broad. She had a face like a walnut and eyes like a hawk, and she did not say hello. Girl. Ma'am. How far apart? 12 minutes, maybe 10 now. 7 months, you said, Callahan. 7, ma'am. About. Girl, put the rifle down. Callahan, bar that door. Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kettleman crossed the cabin like she owned it. She set her canvas bag on the table. She opened it. She started pulling things out. A folded cloth, a small bottle, a length of twine, a pair of scissors. Girl, get on the bed. Yes, ma'am. Callahan. Ma'am? Boil water, now. Yes, ma'am. And Callahan. Ma'am? Your rifle, where is it? Here, ma'am? Keep it here. If there's a Doyle out there, I do not want to be at this bed and have a man come through that door. Do you understand me? Yes, ma'am. Sarah Grayson got onto the bed. Her legs did not obey her clean. Jack's hand came under her elbow. She let him take her weight. She did not say she was letting him take her weight. She just let him. Jack. Sarah. The gunshot I heard earlier. Hollis told me on the way back. We crossed him. He'd fallen off the gray a half-mile from Bracken Hollow. Mrs. Kettleman patched him. He rode on. He lived. He lived. Good. Sarah. Jack the man. The third man. I heard you. Doyle. I heard you. Jack, I don't know where he is. Nobody knows where he is. That's what a third man is for. Jack. Sarah. I kept a rifle on that door. I saw. I was going to shoot him. I know. I mean it, Jack. I was going to shoot him if he come back up on the porch. Sarah, I believe you. Mrs. Kettleman's hand landed flat on Sarah's belly. The hand was warm. The hand was sure. The hand had, as Jack had said, brought most of a county. Girl. Ma'am. Breathe. Yes, ma'am. Girl, listen to me. You are not losing this baby tonight. Sarah Grayson turned her head on the pillow. She looked at the old woman's face. She looked at Jack Callahan, standing by the bed with his rifle propped against the frame and his other hand reaching for hers. "Ma'am?" "Girl." "You sure?" "Girl, I have been doing this 41 years. I am sure." Sarah Grayson took Jack Callahan's hand. She did not ask for it. She did not announce it. She took it. "Jack." "Sarah. If a man comes through that door tonight, he won't. If he does." "Sarah. If he does, you do what you have to do." "I will." "Do you understand me, Jack Callahan?" "I understand you, Sarah Grayson." "Good." The tightening hit. It hit harder than any of the ones before. It hit like a hand closing all the way around her. She did not let go of Jack's hand. She did not let go of Jack's hand for a long time after. The tightening did not let go when Mrs. Kettleman said it should. It held past the count of 30. It held past the count of a minute. Sarah Grayson felt her fingers go numb around Jack Callahan's hand, and she did not care because numb was better than the thing that was happening in the middle of her. "Girl." "Ma'am." "Girl, look at me." Sarah turned her head. "Girl, this one is a long one. Long is not bad. Long as the baby find in the way. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am. You are not to push. Not yet. Not till I say." "Yes, ma'am." "Callahan." "Ma'am." "Is that water boiled?" "Boilin' now, ma'am." "Bring it." "Yes, ma'am." Jack's hand started to pull away from Sarah's. She held it. "Jack." "Sarah. Don't go far." "I won't." "Jack, the door. The bar's on it. The rifle's on the bedpost. I'll be 3 steps from either." 3 steps. 3. He went. He came back. He was, as he had said, 3 steps. He set the pot of boiled water on the table. He came back to the bed. He gave her his hand again. "Jack?" "Sarah?" "I keep saying your name." "I don't mind. I keep saying it because—" "Sarah, you don't have to explain saying my name." "I keep saying it because I ain't sure yet that you're real." Mrs. Kettleman from the foot of the bed without looking up. "He's real, girl. I've been knowing that man 11 years. He's real." "Ma'am?" "Breathe, girl." Sarah breathed. "Girl?" "Ma'am." "The next one I want you to push." "Yes, ma'am." "Not before." "Yes, ma'am." The tightening eased. Sarah's hand loosened on Jack's. Her head went back against the pillow. "Jack." "Sarah. I want to tell you something while I still got my voice." Sarah. "No, listen. I'm listening. If something happens—" Sarah. "Jack, if something happens to me and the baby lives, I want you to—" Sarah Grayson. "Jack." "Sarah, you are not to say that sentence. You are not to start it. Mrs. Kettleman told you. You are not losing this baby, and you are not losing you. Do you hear me?" "Jack." "Do you hear me, Sarah?" She looked at him. His jaw was tight. His eyes were wet. She had not expected his eyes to be wet. "Jack Callahan." "Sarah." "Your eyes." "I know." "You're crying." "I am not." "You are." "I am a little." "Why?" "Because Sarah Grayson, my sister, died on a bed, not unlike this one, and I was on the porch when she did, and I have carried that porch with me for 4 years, and I am not carrying this one. I am not. You are not going to be a porch for me, Sarah. You are going to be a door." "Jack, breathe." "Jack, that's the most you've said at once since I met you." "I know." "It was a good speech." "It wasn't a speech." "It was." "Breathe, Sarah." She breathed. She smiled. It was the first smile she had had on her face in 2 days. Then the tightening hit, and the smile went, and she bore down, because Mrs. Kettleman told her to, and she bore down hard, and she made a sound that did not belong to a woman of 19, and Jack's hand in hers took every pound of grip she had to give it, and he did not flinch. "Again, girl." "Ma'am." "Again, now." She pushed again. "Again. Again. Girl, the head's comin'." Ma'am, the head is coming, girl. You listen to me. You push one more time, just like that. She pushed. And then from the yard outside the barred door, a sound. Hoofbeats. Not a walk. A trot. Coming up the track. Jack's head came up. Sarah? I hear it. Ma'am? Jack said to Mrs. Kettleman. Ma'am, I got to go. Ma'am? Go, Callahan. This end I got. Your end go. Sarah? Jack? Sarah, I'm letting go of your hand. Let go. I'll be 3 steps. 3. He let go. He moved. He had the rifle off the bedpost and at his shoulder before his 2nd step, and he was at the shutter by the door before his 4th. The hoofbeats came up the last of the track. 1 horse, 1 rider. The horse slowed. The rider was not announcing himself. The rider was not calling out. Sarah felt the next tightening start, and she fought it back. She fought it back because she was not going to have her baby in the space of a gunshot. Ma'am? Push, girl. Ma'am, the door? Callahan has the door. You have the baby. Push. Sarah Grayson pushed. From the shutter, Jack's voice low flat. Who goes there? The voice from outside came back soft, measured. A voice she had not heard before. Mr. Callahan. Who are you? Name's Doyle. Sarah's head turned on the pillow. Doyle. Mrs. Kettleman's hand came down hard on her knee. Girl, you listen to the door with one ear. You push with the rest of you. Do not mix the two. Push. Sarah pushed. At the shutter, Jack's voice had not changed. He had not raised it. He had not dropped it. He held the rifle at his shoulder, and he spoke through the gap. Mr. Doyle? Mr. Callahan. You ridin' for Creel? I was. Mr. Creel is a fair ways away from us, Mr. Callahan. The man who paid me has bled out on the track 1.5 miles from here. The man I was watchin' him has rode on to Bracken Hollow with my employer's money in a bag. I am a man out of a contract, Mr. Callahan. I am ridin' past, and I am tellin' you, I am ridin' past because I would rather not have a man like you at my back wonderin' if I am ridin' past. Mr. Doyle, Mr. Callahan. That is a speech. I have been thinkin' it the last 2 miles. Inside Mrs. Kettleman's voice urgent. Girl, push, now. Sarah pushed. Sarah pushed with every pound of rage and fear and 2 years of lies and 6 hours of a platform and the name of a mother she would never meet. Ma'am. Again. Ma'am, I can't. You can, girl. You are. Again. Ma'am. Now. She pushed. And at the shutter, Jack Callahan was saying soft, Mr. Doyle, I am going to ask you 2 questions, and then I am going to tell you what is going to happen. All right, Mr. Callahan. Are you armed? I am. Are you reaching for it? I am not. Good. Mr. Callahan, may I ask my one? Ask. That's your woman in there. A pause. Mr. Doyle. Mr. Callahan. That woman in there is her own. She ain't mine. She ain't yours. She ain't any man's. You understand me. I understand you, Mr. Callahan. Good. Mr. Callahan. Yes. The man on the track. Walker. He is done. I watched him go. All right. And Mr. Callahan. Yes. Mr. Creel, when he hears the accounting of this day, will be a man short 2 men and a sum. He is not going to send a 3rd. You sure of that? I have worked for the man 11 years. I am sure. All right. Mr. Callahan. Yes. I will ride on. Ride on. Inside, Sarah Grayson pushed one more time with everything she had, and a handful of things she did not know she had, and Mrs. Kettleman let out a low, satisfied sound that was the sound of 41 years of bringing a county, and then Sarah heard it. A cry. Thin. Pure. Mad. A baby. A baby that was breathing. a baby that was hers. Oh. The word came out of her without thought. Oh. Oh. Girl. Ma'am, you got a daughter. A daughter. A live one. A loud one. Ears on her already. Sarah Grayson put both her hands over her face, and she made a sound that was not a cry. It was the sound a woman makes when every door she has ever had shut on her opens at once, and she has to fit through them all at the same time. Jack. From the shutter, Jack Callahan's voice, and it was not flat anymore. It was not measured anymore. It was cracked. Sarah? Jack, she's here? I heard Sarah. Jack, come. Sarah, the man. The man is ridin'. I have to watch him go. Watch him, then come. Sarah. Jack Callahan. You watch that man to the end of the track, and you come to this bed. Yes, Sarah. She heard him at the shutter. She heard the hooves of Doyle's horse pick up even and steady moving away from the cabin. She heard them fade. She heard Jack Callahan say low to nobody, "Ride on." Then she heard his boots. She heard the rifle set against the wall. She heard him cross the cabin. He came to the bed. He knelt beside it. He did not touch the baby. He did not touch Sarah. He put his hand on the blanket over Sarah's knee, and he put his forehead down on his own forearm, and his shoulders shook exactly once, and then they were still. Jack Callahan. Sarah. Look at her. He lifted his head. Mrs. Kettleman, with a cloth around the baby, lifted the baby. She set the baby on Sarah's chest. Sarah's hands came up to hold her. Her hands knew how. Her hands had never held a baby before in her life, and her hands knew how. Jack. Sarah. This is my daughter. She is. This is my daughter, Jack Callahan. Yes, Sarah. She ain't anybody else's. No, Sarah. She is mine. Yes. Jack. Sarah. Her name is Ruth. Jack Callahan closed his eyes. He kept them closed a long breath. When he opened them, he looked at Sarah Grayson, and he said low, "Sarah, that is your name to give." "I know it is." "Sarah, Jack, your sister raised 3 babies. One of them lived. One of them is in Missouri. The third one she was carrying when she went. Your mother's name was Sarah. Mine is Sarah. My daughter's name is Ruth." Sarah. "It is done, Jack Callahan. Her name is Ruth Grayson. She is a Grayson because I am a Grayson and because I will not give her a name that a man gave me." Sarah. And Jack. Sarah. "You are not the father of this child." "No, Sarah. I am not asking you to be." "No, Sarah." "But you held the door." "I did." You held the door, Jack Callahan, on the day this child was born. You held the door against a man with a knife, and a man with a gun, and a man with a contract. You held the door. My daughter will know that. My daughter will know that the first man in this world who was kind to her mother held a door. Sarah. That is the accountant Jack Callahan. That is what you are. You are the man who held the door. And that is not a small thing. That is not a small thing in this country, and it is not a small thing in this life, and my daughter will grow up knowing it. Jack Callahan wiped his face with the back of his wrist. He did not say anything for a long breath. Sarah Grayson. Jack. When you are well, and when Miss Ruth there is taken milk, and when Mrs. Kettleman says it is all right. Jack. I am going to build a second room on this cabin. Jack. A second room and a second door, your door, with a bar on your side of it. And a window facing east because the east is where the sun is in the morning, and you have had enough of the sun at noon for a lifetime. Jack Callahan. I am not asking you to stay, Sarah. I am telling you the room will be there. Jack. If you stay because you want to. If you go with my horse and my money and Mrs. Kettleman on the road beside you to the town of your choosing. I am not a man who takes. I am a man who builds. I am telling you what I am going to build. Jack. Sarah. Build the room. Sarah. Build the room, Jack Callahan. I am not making any bigger promise than that tonight. I am tired, and I am 19, and I have a daughter on my chest, and I have been betrayed before by a bigger promise than I ought to have made. I am making a small one. Build the room. I will sleep in it until I decide what else. Sarah, that is enough of a promise. Jack. Sarah. You will not ask me for more. No, Sarah. I will not ask you for a single thing more than what you offer me. Jack Callahan. Sarah. My mother would have liked you. You told me. I am telling you again. Mrs. Kettleman from the foot of the bed cleared her throat. Callahan. Ma'am. You are a grown man crying at the foot of a bed in a house that is not mine, and I would like you to boil more water, because there is still work on this end. Yes, ma'am. Girl. Ma'am. You did well. Thank you, ma'am. Girl, you did more than well. Ma'am. You held a rifle on a door with a contraction in you, and you pushed a child out of you with a gunman in your yard, and you named her after a woman you never met because it was right. I have been in this country 41 years. I have seen a great many women. You are one of the ones. Ma'am. Now, water. Yes, ma'am. Jack rose. He went to the fire. He did his boiling. He did not speak. He did not have to. Sarah Grayson watched him move, and she held her daughter to her chest, and she felt her daughter breathe, and she felt her daughter latch clumsy, the way new things do, and she closed her eyes. She did not sleep. She did not let herself. She kept her eyes half open, and she kept her daughter in the crook of her arm, and she watched the light in the cabin change from the last of the sun to the first of a lamp Jack lit, and she listened to Mrs. Kettleman give orders, and Jack obey them, and she listened to the small sounds of a baby who had decided for now to be in the world. When Mrs. Kettleman was done, the old woman packed her bag. She washed her hands in the basin. She took a long drink of water. She sat down in the chair at the table. Callahan. Ma'am. I will sleep in that chair. Ma'am, the loft. The chair, Callahan. Mother and baby need a woman in the room tonight, not a man. The man sleeps in the barn. Yes, ma'am. And Callahan. Ma'am. Before you go to the barn, say what you are going to say. Ma'am. Say it, Callahan. The girl is tired. Say it and let her sleep. Jack Callahan crossed to the side of the bed. He did not sit. He stood. He looked down at Sarah Grayson and the baby on her chest. Sarah. Jack. I was 41 years old last month. I know. I have lived alone on this place 11 years. I know. I am telling you because if you are going to sleep in a room in this house, I want you to know who is sleeping in the other room. I have not been married. I have not wished to be. I have kept a place, and I have kept a horse, and I have kept a promise to a sister who is not here, and I have been mostly content. I am telling you this, so you will not think on some mornin' a year from now that you are living under the roof of a man who is waiting for something from you. I am not waiting for anything, Sarah. I have what I need. If you stay, you are a gift I was not counting on. If you go, you were a gift that passed through. Either way, the roof will hold. Jack. Sarah. Say the last part again. Either way, the roof will hold. That is what I wanted. Sarah. Go to your barn, Jack Callahan. I will see you in the morning. In the morning? Jack. Sarah. Thank you. Sarah, you don't... Jack. All right, Sarah. Good night. Good night, Sarah Grayson. Good night, Miss Ruth. He went. Sarah lay in the lamp-lit cabin with her daughter on her chest, and Mrs. Kettleman in a chair, and a door barred, and a rifle on the bedpost, and she thought for the first time since she was 10 years old, and her father had walked, that she was not, after all, on the wrong side of her own life. She thought about Gabe Walker, dead on a track he should never have ridden. She thought about Hollis bleeding, but breathing, ridden onto a town that did not know yet what was coming to it. She thought about Doyle riding off in a direction that was not this one. She thought about her uncle in Fort Keene, who had said out loud to a boy that she was not his. She thought about her mother. She thought about Jack's mother. She thought about Jack's sister. She thought about the baby on her chest. Ruth. The baby did not stir. Ruth Grayson. You were born in a cabin that did not belong to your mother, on a night your mother did not know the name of, and you were delivered by a woman your mother had not met before this afternoon, and the door of the room you were born in was held by a man who owed your mother nothing. You hear me, Ruth Grayson. You hear me, daughter. The baby did not stir. You will grow up in this country, and this country will tell you many things about what a woman is worth, and what a woman can do, and what a woman must be. You will listen to some of it. You will have to. But you will not. Ruth Grayson, believe it. Because your mother on the day you were born was told by every single voice that counted for anything that she was not anyone's, and she stood up anyway, and she said no anyway, and she lived anyway. And your mother will tell you this story, Ruth, every year on your birthday, for as long as your mother draws breath, so that you will know bone deep that a woman is not what a man makes her, and a woman is not what a town says, and a woman is not what a father leaves her with, and a woman is not what a mother was before her. A woman, Ruth Grayson, is what she builds. And your mother is buildin'. Your mother is buildin' right now with you on her chest, in the lamplight, in a cabin that is not yet hers, but will be. Your mother is buildin', and your mother will not stop buildin', and you, Ruth Grayson, will grow up inside what your mother built, and you will add to it, and you will hand it on. That is the promise. That is the only promise. That is the one promise in this life that your mother will ever make you, and your mother, Ruth Grayson, will keep it. The baby did not stir. Sarah Grayson closed her eyes. Outside in the barn, Jack Callahan lay on a blanket over straw, and did not sleep either. He lay with his hands laced on his chest, and his eyes on the dark above him, and he thought for the first time in 4 years that his sister would have been on this night proud of him. In the chair, Mrs. Kettleman, who had come out of 41 years of a trade, let her head nod forward onto her chest and slept. And on the track 1.5 miles away, the body of Gabe Walker cooled under a sky that did not know his name and would never learn it. Sarah Grayson woke once hours before dawn, and she looked down at her daughter. Her daughter was breathing. Her daughter was alive. Her daughter was hers. She said it out loud one time in the dark of the cabin, so that the cabin would hear it and hold it and remember it on all the mornings that were coming. I am Sarah Grayson, and this is my daughter Ruth, and we are home. And she was.